Welcome to another episode of I.N.SANE's Asylum. The doctor is insane. And I'm continuing my Halloween-a-thon. This time a little group of movies called the Stab-a-thon, which includes the Scream movies. And yes, I stole that idea from Scream 4. Hell, the Halloween-a-thon name was based off the Stab-a-thon in Scream 4. But anyway, two other movies I added to this group of Scream movies. One is called Cutthroat, which I will be reviewing later on. The other one, Final Stab. Now, Final Stab you think is a complete rip-off of Scream. Yes, it does have a rip-off of Scream in it, but it has different intentions, like a murder mystery involved. And it takes place in the woods and everything, so it's not completely a rip-off of Scream. Anyway, the movie begins with our main guy, Charlie. He starts off watching Green Zombie on TV while he gets a phone call from his girlfriend, Angela. And then he gets ready to shower, and then he takes a break from his shower, and then he runs into Angela, who brings home some booze. And then he gets back to his shower. Angela apparently gets killed by the killer. And then the killer approaches Charlie in the shower, and Charlie sees the killer's face as another Charlie that stabs him in the chest, and he wakes up, and it's all just a dream. He and Angela are both still alive. Angela's bitchy sister, Kristen, sets up a murder mystery party. Only Angela and Charlie don't know that's supposed to be a murder mystery. She shows up with a guy she's holding a dark secret over. She's blackmailing him to be her lapdog with this secret that he has. So Doug, this guy's name's Doug. Apparently the only one that's good to Angela and Charlie. They both show up, and Kristen mentions this house had a history of murders in it. 4 people were killed, and they never found the killer. So this is where she plans to do her murder mystery. And unknown to her, 3 other guys are stalking her, led by Bud and his 2 friends, Earl and Cosmo. Earl and Cosmo are kind of forced along because they don't want to walk back into town, which is about 20 miles. Anyway, Bud sends Cosmo to keep an eye on the driveway, see if anybody shows up to the house. While he has I already mentioned what Cosmo does. He has Earl stay with the vehicle. So while Bud is lurking around, he gets a call from Earl, who hears a twig break behind him, which, by the way, we see that the killer is right behind him. So he calls up Bud and mentions about it. He hears a twig snapping, and Bud tells him not to call unless it's a real emergency. And after they're done talking, the killer slits Earl's throat. And then Cosmo sees 2 other guys showing up to the party. As soon as I remember their names. Brett and Steve. Sees Brett and Steve pulling up to the house. And then he calls Bud about it. And then anyway, I forgot what he tells Cosmo, but anyway, after Cosmo hangs up, he sees a killer running behind him. He thinks it's Earl, so he goes following the killer. And then he runs into the killer again, and he's kind of looking this way where the killer just came from, and then the killer came up from behind him and slits his throat and kills him. Anyway, the party begins. Angela and Charlie show up with Doug with them. And also to this party are a couple named Patrick and Julia. Yeah, that's everybody that's attending the party. Anyway, while Brett was forced to offer Charlie a drink. And then Steve gets the bottle opener for him, or can opener for him. And the killer comes up from behind and stabs Steve in the back. And Earl's watching this through the... Keep on calling Bud Earl. Anyway, the guy's name is Bud, the lead guy of the three-man. Bud's looking in through the window and watches Steve get stabbed in the back. And Steve falls to the ground. And apparently Charlie runs off and Angela goes after him. And it's revealed that Steve was playing dead all along. This killer right here was actually an actor named Lawrence who was hired to be the killer. And then Kristen orders everybody to shut off their cell phones and tells Steve to continue to play dead. And if he gets up, she'll really kill him. So then she tells Doug and all them to make it look like that they're looking for a phone, which is why they're going to split up and everything. Then moments later, it's just the dead Steve laying on the floor with Doug and Brett as Angela comes back. And apparently they tell her they can't find a phone. And then Steve's phone starts ringing. And Steve has no choice but to get up and break kayfabe that he's not really dead. So he pulls out his phone and answers it. So then Angela now knows that it's supposed to be a murder mystery. So then she goes out and looks for Kristen. Actually, Brett goes out. Well, Doug and Angela have a chat. Anyway, the killer didn't catch it. Lawrence does. Lawrence sees the actual killer. Lawrence, the actor. And he thinks it's just another actor. So he goes into the house, kind of looks for the killer at first, takes a piss, and then looks around the house some more, and he finds Cosmo's dead body, and he thinks it's just a prop. And then Lawrence gets stabbed in the heart and dies. A few minutes later, the killer approaches Bud, stabs him in the back. He kind of feels his wound and looks at the blood, and he's like, what the fuck? And then it's like the killer knocks him out, hits him in the head with the butt of the knife. Julia and Patrick are suddenly making love, and they kind of miss their cue, which is the lights out, believing that they're supposed to put on these props to pretend to be dead. But then they decided, fuck it, and then decide to fuck. And anyway, Patrick's wanting to call up Kristen and talk about they're going to miss their plans. And Julia goes out to look for anybody, and she gets stabbed to death by the killer. And Patrick looks at the window as Julia's getting stabbed to death. He thinks she's just acting. So he gets ready to call up Kristen, and he's going to try to ask her if he could just splash some blood on himself and call it a day, as the killer comes up from behind him and stabs him in his bed. Trying to think if anything else important happens before I get to the next murder. I guess not. Alright, Brett's now. The Dolph Ziggler lookalike. I mean, I swear, you look at this guy, you would swear he was Dolph Ziggler's twin from WWE. But anyway, Brett goes looking for Kristen. They do have a little chat. And then it's sort of like he looks around and he looks into one building. He sees the killer. Apparently, this killer is just a scarecrow underneath the hood. And then as he's getting ready to exit that building, the real killer jumps out from behind the doorway and stabs him to death. Angela finally catches up with Charlie. Angela and Doug both go into the basement of the house. I mean, they see Doug going into the house. And then they go into the basement and find Charlie. So, Doug kind of reveals that this is to bring out the insanity of Charlie. Charlie's parents apparently were killed a few months before. And it's like Kristen's trying to bring out the insanity in Charlie. Because Charlie actually turned her down when she gave a striptease to him. So, Angela's looking for Kristen, going to knock her out, and tells Doug to get Charlie out of here. So as the two of them get into her vehicle, get into Angela's vehicle. Sorry, I keep on getting the sisters' names mixed up. They get into Angela's vehicle. Doug tells Charlie why she is being Kristen's lapdog. That apparently Doug and Charlie revealed that they had an affair with each other. So it's revealed that Kristen somehow caught them, and she's blackmailing Doug about it. And then Charlie says he's going to go look for Angela. And then we find Angela, who comes across Julia's dead body, thinking she's just playing along, and then comes across Patrick's dead body. And she doesn't realize he's really dead. And it's like, Doug calls her up on the phone, on Patrick's phone. Doug's going to call up Patrick, see if he wants to come along for the drinks. And apparently, as he's calling, the killer chokes out Doug in the vehicle. And Angela answers the phone and hears Doug being choked to death. And then a few seconds later actually, the killer goes after Angela. I mean, Angela's starting to be shaky when she realizes Doug's being choked on the phone and seeing the Patrick's dead body. Yeah, the killer started going after Angela. And then she sees Brett's dead body. And then she hits the killer with a log, and then they run him back into the main cabin. And she runs into Charlie, who has a knife. And Kristen comes out from behind a wall with a knife of her own, accusing Charlie of killing everybody. And it was like Charlie attempts to stab Kristen, but he accidentally stabs Angela. And then Kristen believes Angela is dead. So she starts laughing about it and mentioning that the plot was she got her friends killed. But apparently says that Charlie actually killed them all. That due to all these fake murders, Charlie goes apeshit and kills them all for real. And it was like Charlie says he'll testify against her. And then she says the only murder weapon is the knife with his fingerprints on it. And then she realizes that the knife on the floor was actually the prop knife that was used on Steve earlier. Speaking of which, I forgot about Steve. Yeah, Steve gets tired of laying on the floor playing dead. So when he gets up, the killer actually stabs him in the back. So yeah, I forgot about Steve getting killed. I knew I left something important out. Anyway, he was killed sometime maybe before or after Patrick and Julia. I don't remember exactly what order he got killed in, but it was way before Brett for sure. So back to the present now. Yeah, Kristen finds that it's the prop knife that's laying on the floor. And then realizes Angela ain't really dead. And Angela comes out of the shadows and stabs Kristen with a knife and kills her. Stabs her in the chest. And then she asks, where are we going to tell the police? And then Charlie mentioned that Kristen goes ape shit and kills everybody. And apparently Angela reveals, kind of points out, Doug was getting choked on the other end of the phone 2 seconds before the killer went after her, revealing that Charlie might have killed Doug to keep that secret a secret. But we're not confirmed that was actually Charlie. Also, it is revealed that the house they're in was actually the house that Charlie's parents got killed in. And Angela asks, so they never found the killer? And then Charlie says, no. Making us, the viewers, believe that Charlie might have been the killer all along, over the parents and over Doug. Everyone else we believe are Kristen's kills. So the movie just kind of ends like that. Anyway, that's all for this episode of I.N.SANE's Asylum. The doctor is out.